Moving Wisconsin forward one joke at a time. This is As Goes Wisconsin with Kristen Bry.
So it goes, so it goes, so it goes, so it goes. But where it's going, no one knows. Hello, Wisconsin!
Now, filling in for the new mom, here's Jane Matinaire.
Good morning and welcome to As Goes Wisconsin. So happy to have you along today. Calvin is on the board. Carol Kane and Greg Bach with me in the studio. And you can always join us too at 844-967-2789. Busy show coming up today, next hour, 11:06. A public service announcement with Dr. Kristen Lyerly. If you have any health questions for Dr. Lyerly, you can always text him in again at 844-967-2789. And then 11:30, we're going to talk a little sports with sports reporter Paul Noonan. I know, Greg, you have lots of questions about the Brewers.
Jackson Chourio signing,
his deal. And so we will get a little bit more into that next hour. A couple things we want to acknowledge. Tonight is the first night of Hanukkah. So to all of our Jewish listeners and friends, we wish you a happy Hanukkah.
Uh-huh.
Also, the anniversary of the bombing of Pearl Harbor, 1941. And tragically, there was another mass shooting in the States yesterday, University of Las Vegas, Nevada. Apparently, a man who had applied for a professorship at that school is the one who showed up yesterday on campus, killed 3 professors, injured 1 other, and then subsequently, I believe, was killed in a shootout with police.
You know, these stories are beyond tragic. No matter when they or where they happen. I just always, at this particular time of the season, I just weep for the families. You know, it's just an awful, awful situation, you know, in the fact that this is forever going to be what they remember
Around
at this
the
particular,
holidays.
right. And I don't understand. Here's what I don't get. I don't own a gun. Never had one. Have I gone to a shooting range? Yes. I've shot clay pigeons and, you know, all that kind of stuff. Did a little target practice. Always had fun, but I'm not a hunter. We've never come from a hunting family.
Right.
And I just don't have a gun. But I don't understand that this is where you go. You know what I mean? In the fact that
When you're upset?
yeah, you okay, you have to learn to deal with disappointments. You're a grown man, for Pete's sakes. But I just don't understand that you decide this is what you are going to do. You know, go stand outside with a protest sign, walk around, chant, put something out on social media, what a piece of crap you think UNLV is because you didn't get the gig. But to actually, with malice and forethought, you get a gun and you go and you do this. It's so far away from my way of thinking. Thank God. You know, I just doesn't make any sense to me.
But I think these individuals want to go out in a blaze and they think they will always be remembered and they will go down in the annals of history. And unfortunately, these instances now are so commonplace that we don't remember the names of these gunmen because it happens so often.
No, I mean, I remember when it happened at the University of Austin, when the dude was in the bell tower.
Yep.
And how uncommon and how, awful that was. And it just kind of almost like started this domino effect of, and it goes one after the next, after the next, after the next. It's almost to the point where, I heard it and I was like, oh, that's awful. Okay. Not another big surprise.
Well, we're becoming so numb to this because it's happening with such regularity. And we are on pace now to set another record this year.
Every time, every year.
Which is not a record that we should be embracing.
No, not at all. Not at all. But it's just awful. It's just horrible.
Condolences absolutely to all of the, as you said, the victims and the victims' families. Another tragedy in the U.S. because of guns.
I was watching the news today, and this is off subject a little, but like that poor Oak Creek police officer, his family. I'm sick to my stomach about that too. He's just out driving around. He gets slammed into by a semi. He's gravely injured.
Yep.
And I was watching last night on the news that the doctors were talking about the walk as they were taking him to the operating room for
Organ donation.
donations, and they were talking about how everybody was lining the hallways, and it's just.
And he was a young man.
He was a young man.
Yeah.
And he was the one that lost his partner to that shooting during a traffic stop last year. And I just and that's another thing. Why are you carrying a gun while you're walking? You got stopped for a ticket. Take the damn ticket. I don't get it. There's nothing I can even say
to get into that mindset. I understand. I think we all feel that way. I do. Moving on, though, we're going to bring it back with a little more focus on Wisconsin. A group of Wisconsin Republicans who tried to cast electoral votes for former President Trump in 2020 yesterday in a lawsuit settlement acknowledged that President Biden actually won in the election.
Say that again. What
They
happened?
acknowledged in a lawsuit settlement that President Joe Biden did win the 2020 election.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah. This panel of Republicans met shortly after the Supreme Court upheld Joe Biden's win in Wisconsin at the same time as the Democratic electors were meeting elsewhere in the state capitol. And then they tried to falsely certify to the U.S. Senate that Trump is the one who had legitimately won the state, despite no evidence, zero, Zippo evidence of widespread fraud in Wisconsin.
Zilch evidence?
That would be zilch.
Zilch.
In a lawsuit filed last year, 2 Democratic electors sued the group. They were looking for over $2 million in damages from the 10 false electors and 2 lawyers. The proposed settlement that was filed yesterday in Dane County Circuit Court. No money will change hands. The electors do not have to admit any guilt.
Okay.
No,
I'm not surprised by that.
That's wrong.
They have agreed not to submit false paperwork following any future elections, and they will cooperate in this ongoing case against 2 of these lawyers, Chesbrough and Jim Trupis. They're set to go to trial next year. In a statement as part of the settlement, the group of 10 said they did this at the behest of the Trump campaign and the state Republican Party. Gavin, we have a clip from MSNBC about this. You want to play that, please?
As part of that settlement in Wisconsin, we have also learned new details about what that fake electors plot looked like behind the scenes. And those details are damning, especially for Republicans, especially for Donald Trump. In one set of text exchanges, one of the fake electors refers to the whole plot as a possible steal, as in what we're trying to do here is steal an election. Specifically, while discussing the logistics of the plot, the fake elector says they don't want to have a technicality mess up the possible steal. And then, in case you were wondering, the fake elector then clarifies that by they, he means the Republican Party of Wisconsin and Trump's lawyers. Another person on the text chain asks, how do you feel about all of this? And that same fake elector replies, I feel like I have to do it. Otherwise, there'll be a target on my back in my own district.
So again, it's not about what's right.
Mhm.
It's about doing what I need to do so I can keep my great job.
And doing that means trying to overthrow a democratically elected official.
Yes.
I mean, these people should be going to prison. They should never be allowed near an election ever again. I mean, the fact that all these swamp monsters are who 2-3 years ago were waving their fists in the air saying this is a steal, this is
The election was stolen.
we can't let this happen, America must. And now and they would defend it to the hilt. Now they're all saying no, you know what, you were right, it's fine. And for their treasonous acts, they get no jail time, no monetary penalties, or any great amount, I should say. And they get to still work in this business. I mean, it's what is this? What is this? What is this? This the party of law and order.
Except.
This is to me, this is the mindset of of many people out there that just they cannot seem to accept reality. I mean,
But that,
Biden, but I don't understand it. It doesn't make it. Once again, Carol is clueless. I am. I'm just clueless because it doesn't make any. You're grown people. You know what you're doing. You can't tell me you were misled. I won't believe it. You're grown people. You know exactly what you're doing. You know right from wrong. You should know right from wrong, but it's the whole thing of, we didn't know. We didn't get it. We were, we.
but don't forget, there has been a big machine pushing this message since Donald Trump lost.
I know
that it was stolen. It was stolen. It was stolen. It was stolen, despite no evidence.
I just want you to understand. This is me, Carol. I woke up in the morning and I went, oh, okay, Joe Biden won. Let's move on. Why are we wasting valuable time on all this other crap? Joe Biden won. He's the president. He's going to be the candidate again. Get used to it. I say what you will about Donald Trump, and we can get to the debate from last night too. I have a feeling that he's going to be the nominee again because he's leading everybody in double digits.
Yeah.
So I mean, and if he, God, I don't even want to see it. To tell you the truth, I want to move to Spain and get out of here.
All right.
Spain is an interesting choice.
Yeah.
It just popped into my head.
Okay.
This next year is going to be horrible. Horrible.
And it's going to be nonstop. It's going to be nonstop ads and nonstop attack ads. Yeah,
Right.
It's going to be a long year. We have one text I want to get to quickly from the 541. I find it interesting that a condition of this settlement with these fake electors is the individuals can't serve as electors in any election involving Trump, as opposed to being banned from serving as electors altogether for life. Yes.
Yeah. At the very
Yes.
least, if we're not putting them in prison and we're not charging them money, then they never, and this should just be a part of it. They should never be able to be part of this process again, period.
Stay with us. Republican debates. 4 were on stage. Who came out the winner? Was there one?
Did we all lose?
Stay close. You're listening to As Goes Wisconsin on the Civic Media Radio Network.
You're listening to the Shaw WAUK.
Robert Hack Diamonds pays cash for your unwanted gold, silver, and even diamonds. That's right. Robert Hack Diamonds wants to make you an offer on your gold, silver, and diamonds. The process is very simple. No appointment needed. Just come on in, sit down in a nice, relaxed atmosphere, and the staff of Robert Hack Diamonds will evaluate your unwanted gold, silver, and diamonds and make you an offer on the spot. Then you can decide if you want a deal or no deal. Robert Hack Diamonds can also convert your old jewelry into something new or trade in your outdated pieces for something new and exciting. Many people inherit jewelry that might not be your taste, but you are sentimental. Why not have Robert Hack Diamonds take the golden gems and create something for you? So many options at Robert Hack Diamonds. Again, Robert Hack Diamonds pays cash for your unwanted gold, silver, and diamonds. See them in Brookfield just east of Moreland on Greenland Avenue or 76 in Layton, right on the corner in Greenfield. RobertHackDiamonds.com.
The Shaw WAUK.
Good morning. Welcome to As Goes Wisconsin. Hello, Racine. You're listening on WRJN. And a shout out to the folks in Richland Center listening on WRCE News from the center in Richland Center. Thank you so much for joining us. Jane Matnier in for Kristen Bry, Carol Kane, Greg Bach with me in studio. Calvin is on the board, and we'd love to hear from you. You can call or text at 844-967-2789, 844-96.
Party.
And if you're watching on the live stream on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, you can leave a comment there as well. We were just talking about this settlement yesterday that was filed in Dane County. Essentially, letting the 10 fake electors who tried to cast their ballots for Donald Trump off the hook, essentially.
A big old, it's good. You're fine.
Yeah,
you,
we're
you-
fine.
You won't do it again. You look like a nice bunch.
You look like a nice
You
boy.
just were misled.
Yes, exactly. You were misled. Do we have a text?
Yeah, we got a text from the 715, Mr. Pat Kreitlow
Oh, hello, Pat.
of Up North News Radio, 6 to 8 a.m. on Civic Media. Trump wins next year. I'm on my way to Sault Ste. Marie, only 5 hours away. Do
Carol's
you
going
need
to-
do you need an assistant? Pat.
Of course he will need an assistant.
True,
He
it's
will
true.
he will need a producer. Anyway, if you want to check in, 844-967-2789. Going to switch things up a little bit. The fourth and final Republican
Yes.
debate
Yes.
was
we're fine.
last night in
Yeah.
Tuscaloosa, Alabama. We had Nikki Haley, Chris Christie, Vivek Ramaswamy, and Ron DeSantis on stage. Of course, no Donald Trump. He hasn't shown up at any of the debates. I guess he doesn't need to.
I was telling you off the air. I think he's crazy as a fox. All he's doing is building his base and making it stronger by not getting involved in this stuff.
But if your base is only 30%, you need more than 30%.
I
You have to
understand that.
convince some other people.
I'm understanding that. But after watching these children at play last night, he walks away looking like the adult by not participating. I'm serious. Well, first of all, what's his name?
Vivek?
Vivek. He's got to go. He's got to go. There's nothing. And when Christie came after him and called him a blowhard, I laughed out loud. I was just like, well, call it like you see it. I mean, it was just. And why are we personally attacking Nikki Haley?
Well, and but that seemed to be what the whole thing was last night. There was very little substance. There was very little policy.
No.
It's all personal insults.
Right.
And so my takeaway from it last night was if there are any more debates, I think it should be designed as a playground, because these are playground fights. There should be a swing set, and we should have a merry-go-round, and we'll put the podiums in front of a playground set so they can hurl insults at each other like they're fifth graders, because that's what it was.
Yeah, I tune into these things because I want to learn something. I want to find out, I'm not being able to vet these candidates as well as I would like to because they're not giving me anything. They're not giving me anything.
Right.
And this is what I do. I try to be as educated as I possibly can be before I head into the polls. And and Ron DeSantis, he looked ridiculous too. And I mean, he was basically, and Nikki Haley has positioned herself into the number 2 position, basically.
And that's why everybody was going after her, or at least DeSantis and Vivek were going after Nikki Haley because she's in the number 2 spot right now.
Right. And I mean, I initially, when I was watching, I gave Chris Christie like a pat on the back, hey, thanks for defending my honor. But I do find it fascinating that she didn't come out and say, I'm perfectly capable of handling this myself.
Absolutely. I was surprised by that too.
What he said was very nice. She's a strong, accomplished woman. I've known her for 12 years. Got it. But I probably would have said, thank you. That's nice of you.
Yeah. I can defend myself.
Right.
Yeah, I think you're right there. We have a clip from Chris Christie, who, by the way, is the only one last night who ever mentioned Donald Trump. The other 3 just completely stay away from it, which I find remarkable considering that he is far and away the front runner right now. Calvin, play that clip from Chris Christie.
Started off his campaign by saying, I am your retribution. 8 years ago, he said, I am your voice. This is an angry, bitter man who now wants to be back as president because he wants to exact retribution on anyone who has disagreed with him, anyone who has tried to hold him to account for his own conduct. And every one of these policies that he's talking about are about pursuing a plan of retribution.
I don't think he's wrong.
No.
I mean, Donald Trump has essentially said as much. Kash Patel, who has worked with the Trump administration before and now appears to be poised to possibly take a cabinet position, appeared on Steve Bannon's show and said, yep, he gets elected, we are going after people, and we're going after people in the media that we don't like.
Yeah, well, I'm not surprised by that.
I think that's illegal.
It's unconstitutional if they're going to, depending on where they're going to go with it.
You don't just get to jail journalists because you don't like how they report on you.
Well, I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree with you at all. But I'm not. I wish I could say nothing surprises me now anymore. Truly, I'm disappointed 24/7. I'm really disappointed all the time because I just don't. And like with Christie defending Nikki Haley, I even thought that kind of weird suspect in the fact of, okay, nice that you said that, but do you realize that you don't have a chance and you're vying for a position? If she becomes, she's not going to be the candidate. But say, for example, if she would get in, are you vying for some kind of cabinet position with her?
Well, and let's not forget, I mean, he ran against Donald Trump before and he lost, and then he went to Trump and wanted to get a cabinet position within the Trump administration and essentially got the cold shoulder because Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, doesn't like Chris Christie because Chris Christie is the one who put Kushner's father in jail for trying to blackmail one of his own relatives.
Yeah, it's
And which, by the way, Donald Trump pardoned Charles Kushner
awesome.
and got him out of that.
I have a couple more texts here. My mistake. It's more Truth in Media. It was not Pat Kreitlow. I thought it was Pat because it said Pat. It's Pat from Green Bay. So just thank you for
The clarification.
And then also from this 312. Okay, thanks a lot. It's pronounced Sault Ste. Marie. I'm so sorry. And then finally, Robert for Richland Center said the settlement was a civil case with plaintiffs and defendants, no prosecutors, and no ability to do any other penalties. The question is why our attorney general is not proceeding with prosecution. They're very true. And yes,
That's a good question.
yeah, I mean, these are traitors. These people committed treason. They went against the democratic election. There should be no deal. Or if there is a deal, it still includes jail time, a lot of money, and being barred from ever working in this business ever again.
Yeah, they should never be allowed near another election. I don't understand why they just have to avoid the ones where Trump is running. That
Exactly,
Seems, that
yeah.
seems
Because
that
they're
seems
going
questionable.
after him. He's the big fish. He's the biggest fish. And if they don't want jail time, they know to get him, they can demand it.
Coming up, cashless establishments would be banned in Wisconsin. Is this a good idea? Stay with us. You're listening to As Goes Wisconsin. We are on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Broadcasting to Waukesha at 101.1 FM. Broadcasting to Southeast Wisconsin at 540 AM. This is The Shaw, WAUK.
Civic Media News. I'm Terry Bell. Here's what Wisconsin needs to know. A Republican prosecutor says he plans to appeal this week's court ruling allowing consensual medical abortions in Wisconsin. Sheboygan County District Attorney Joel Ermansky maintains state law clearly outlaws abortions and that he disagrees with Dane County Judge Diane Schlipper's finding to the contrary. The question is an 1849 Wisconsin law the conservatives interpret as banning abortion. A deal may or may not be close to free up blocked pay raises for University of Wisconsin employees. Senate Republican Majority Leader Devin LeMahieu tells the Associated Press an agreement is not far off, but a spokesperson for the Universities of Wisconsin says no deal is imminent. The pay raises are being held up in a legislative committee. Assembly Speaker Robin Voss wants state universities to defund diversity offices. I'm Terry Bell. Now here's what you need to know closer to home.
For WAUK News, I'm Stuart J. Waddles. The district attorney in Sheboygan County is planning to quickly challenge a recent ruling on Wisconsin's abortion ban. The state law's interpretation is being disputed, with the district attorney asserting that it clearly applies to all abortions. A judge in Dane County recently ruled that the ban only pertains to feticide and does not cover consensual abortions. If you've ever wanted to get active in your local government, now is the time to act. Melissa Kay has more about getting in the political arena.
Potential candidates for public office in Wisconsin are able to start collecting signatures on their nomination papers as of last Friday. If you're interested in running for public office, you will need to fill out your campaign registration forms prior to circulating your nomination papers. Incumbents who do not plan to run again have until December 22nd by 5 p.m. to submit their declaration of non-candidacy.
And that's what you need to know. I'm Stuart J. Waddles, WAUK News.
Roll into this Friday night and strike a chord of fun, food, and music at Foxview Lanes in Waukesha. A Friday night live music party kicks off at 8 p.m. and goes until midnight every Friday night. And the best part of this party, there's no cover charge. While you're having fun, grab dinner and take advantage of $2 off all sandwiches on Friday night. This Friday night, party with the music of Depot Express, 2440 West Sunset Drive in Waukesha. Call 262-544-2010 or check out foxviewlanes.com.
Marquette rebounds with a win over Texas. Hi, I'm Mike Clemens with sports. The Marquette Golden Eagles, after losing to Wisconsin, bounced back with an 85-65 win over Texas. Tyler Kolek with 28 points and 8 rebounds. Marquette now ranked 8th in the nation when they host Notre Dame Saturday night. The Wisconsin women's volleyball team in the Sweet 16, a part of the NCAA tournament, they're going to host Penn State today at the UW Fieldhouse. NBA, it's the Bucks and the Pacers in Las Vegas. In the next round of the in-season tournament, we ought to spend some time at the craps tables.
Whatever happens in Vegas. You know what I'm saying?
But you'll bring the trophy home if you win it.
I don't know. I might stay in Vegas. Well, do we get some cash if we win?
Yeah, you get some cash too.
Play some blackjack.
Yeah, sure.
You know, I'm gonna go play some roulette. Put it on black.
Okay.
Double my money. You know what I'm saying?
I got you.
Red 34. Red 34. You know, I know.
That's the Bucks, Giannis Antetokounmpo. With sports, I'm Mike Clemens.
Here's your updated forecast on the Shaw. Bright sunshine this afternoon with highs around 47. Winds out of the south 5 to 10 miles an hour. Tonight, lows around 38. Tomorrow, high of 54. For Civic Media, I'm meteorologist Derek Height. Currently, it's 39 degrees.
The Devil's Advocates Radio Show.
Who's your Bob? Who's your daddy? What you got for us, Bob?
Look, you could dig Richard Nixon out of the ground right now, have him declare as a Democrat, and I would vote for him before I would vote for Donald Trump.
Dead tricky dick over Trump.
And I hate Richard Nixon.
The Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Weekday afternoons from 4 till 6 on your local Civic Media radio station and on the app. Your home for the Devil's Advocates. Weekday afternoons from 4 until 6 on The Shaw, 540 AM and 101.1 FM.
Good morning. Welcome to As Goes Wisconsin. Thank you so very much for joining us. Jane Matnair in for Kristen Bry. Calvin's on the board. Greg Bach, Carol Kane with me in the studio. You can always join us. Call or text at 844-967-2789. Or if you're watching on the live stream on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter, you can leave a comment there as well. Going to talk about a bipartisan measure again.
What?
I know Republicans and Democrats in Wisconsin actually trying to get something done together.
Holding hands, walking down the street, being friends.
Singing Kumbaya. It's a good thing. This measure would require Wisconsin businesses to accept cash.
Uh-huh.
It prohibits businesses from being cashless for any in-person retail transaction of less than $2,000. And retailers could actually get fined between $200 and $5,000 if they don't accept cash as payments. There are some carve-outs there. Mobile payments, self-checkout, and buying gas at the pump would not be subject to this same regulation. But again, this is a bipartisan measure that would require business accept cash. I didn't realize that there were businesses that did not accept cash.
There are a few that are like more modern. They only take
They only take cards.
Yeah, and as someone who rarely, if ever, has a single dollar in his pocket and pays with cash or pays with credit and debit cards. This is dumb.
I use cash all the time.
Yeah.
First of all, I don't have a debit card. I only have credit cards, but I use cash all the time. My question when it comes to this is, do you go after like Summerfest?
Right. Which is cashless, right?
Cashless. Summerfest is cashless.
Not back in the day when it started, certainly it was all cash.
Right. The food market at the Avenue, cashless. You have to use either your credit card or a debit card. And I find that a big pain in the patoot.
The ballpark too has some I think if you buy a beer, you can't pay with cash anymore.
I think up at Lambeau, it's the same thing.
Wow.
I think Lambeau is somebody can correct me because I haven't been to Lambeau in a long time, but I think Lambeau went cashless too. And I hate it. And the reason I hate it, and you said you pay.
You were right. Lambeau Field is totally cashless.
Okay. Because I never keep track. Okay. That's a Carol Fobo.
Yeah.
I don't keep track.
Of your money?
No, of my money I do. But, if I'm charging something or whatever, the slip gets, I don't know where it ends up. And then all of a sudden at the end of the month, I go, holy crap, this is what and I have to go back and look. And it's just, to me, it's a pain. I'd rather just get it done right here, right now. But part of this is, and Greg, you may have a different of opinion, but I think a lot of this, people go cashless because people don't know how to give back change.
There's no question.
I think we are in such a stupid state of affairs when it comes to people being. Now, when I worked for my father, before we had to go into the pharmacy to work, we had a tutorial in change and counting back change because he wanted his daughters to be a higher standard and know exactly what they were doing. But it was a painful experience when I went to the movies and I gave this kid the money for the popcorn. It was painful. And I'm telling him what I need back.
I mean, the registers tell you what you need back. It's not like it's.
Well, that's if you put in the amount tendered. Some registers don't have where you can put in amount tendered and get it back. So, I'm like, when I was getting my popcorn and the kid was just like, okay.
He was baffled, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Oh my God. It was $10.80. And I gave him $100 bill. I said, can you break 100?
Oh, you're one of those people.
That's all I had. And so I gave him $100 bill and 80 cents. And I'm like, okay, you owe me $90.
It's pretty simple.
And he gave me 86. And I said, no. 90. He goes, that is 90. I said, how do you get 90 when you just put a 5 and a 1 down?
And his reply was?
He didn't have one.
He quit his job and left. I mean, and the reason why I think it's stupid, as someone who this law would not affect, as I use cards all the time, there are just some people who don't use cards or they prefer to use cash. And I think this seems very arbitrary. I read the article, there's no wisdom behind the rule.
Well, there was a public hearing on this a couple of weeks ago, and one said people who don't use credit cards or banks are being disenfranchised.
Yeah, I mean,
including at Lambeau Field, which does not take cash.
Yeah.
Well, and to tell you the truth, if I know going into a situation, like if I go to Lambeau and I know that they're cashless, I'll tailgate before I go and I'll have a couple of beers and I won't have anything when I get into the stadium. Or if I go into a restaurant and I know they're cashless, I'm going to probably avoid that situation. You're going to lose me as a customer.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I want to pay cash.
But there shouldn't be a penalty because.
No, I don't think
there
so.
shouldn't be a penalty if you are a business. This is once again like businesses have the right to choose what they want to do. If they want to be a cashless establishment for whatever reason they want, yes, they might lose business. And you know what? They've probably taken that in consideration. I used to work for a barbershop that only took cash, and every single day, at least 2 to 3 guys would have to walk out the door to an ATM down the street and get cash. But at the end of the day, it's the business's choice, and you shouldn't penalize them. Show me the research which justifies this banning.
This penalty.
It seems petty. It seems absolutely petty to the point where Wes from Middleton 608 said, yes, the pressing issues. Way to go, legislators. So yeah, I mean,
there's nothing else going on in our state that needs attention.
I don't want to give him credit for being
Bipartisan. 844-967-2789. Excuse me. Is this a good idea? Should we be penalizing businesses that do not take cash? Dave from Mequon is on the line. Good morning, Dave. Thank you so much for joining the show.
Good morning. So it's kind of a mixed bag for me. I understand both sides of the aisle in this case. However, I do think now my father, who's 87, he does not carry a credit card. He cannot go to the 3rd Street Market. He cannot go to a Bucks game. He cannot go to American Family Field because those are all cashless. So if he wants to go to a game, including Lambeau, I have to take him because I'm the one with the credit card.
Oh.
And so, and actually right down the street from him, there's a coffee shop. I can't remember the name of it. It's by the Cudahy Tower. They're cashless. He can't go in there. So yes, I think, and the other thing that I'm just going to point out, and what restaurants are now starting to do, along with some other, now most vendors, like if you were to go into, like, let's say like a Macy's or something, they're not going to charge you, but restaurants are now starting to add that 3.8% transaction
on your,
tax to your, on your food and everything else. So think about next time you go out come January 1, if you're still paying by credit card, you're going to be paying over 8% sales tax in the city of Milwaukee because people don't realize there's already a food tax that is being paid towards the convention center. So when you hear 5.5%, it's already technically at 6. Now with the city adding on their 2%, and then the 0.4 with the county, you're at 8, almost 8.5%. Now you throw the 3.8% on, with the credit card, you're paying almost, you're paying over 12% for your food. It's ridiculous. So if you want to give money out to, whatever, I think it's a good thing to have the cash. I understand. The one thing I will say is this, is that with cash, there's big temptation, even when you look at, some of the festivals like Summerfest, big temptation to where you have theft. And that's one of the reasons why they went cashless because COVID and everything else with the germs on money and everything else. I get that. But, at the same token, there's a lot of people that are in credit card debt. And I think sometimes people forget, I'll just whip it out. At least with cash, you know how much you have on your person. And once you run out of money, you're like, okay.
You're out of money. Thank you so much, Dave.
Out of money.
Thank you, Dave. Really appreciate your call. 844-967-2789, talking about this bipartisan measure that would essentially fine businesses that do not accept cash. Rob from Port Edwards. Good morning, Rob. Thanks for joining the show.
Good morning. And Carol, I think you hung with my grandchildren because both sounds you and I have head colds. So, anyway, I have 2 quick comments. One, up here in Bug Tussle nowhere, a lot of places do charge 3%. If you go to restaurants, sometimes grocery stores and specialty stores, they will charge you 3% just for the credit card transaction fee, irrespective of tax. This is something that's indigenous to each of the places. So I guess I see all the different arguments, pro and con, but the big thing, and the gentleman before kind of touched on it, to me, if I were a business owner that had late hours, a convenience store, a grocery store, a place that's going to have business hours late into the evening, theft. A card, people hack them, people do silly stuff with that, but it's much less prevalent as opposed to handling cash. And if you're working behind that counter at 11 p.m. and somebody hands you a $50 bill or even a $20 bill, and there's somebody else in the store, I'd be a little nervous and twitchy. That's just my thought. A card is generally more secure, at least in the late hours.
You make a
Have
really
lovely day, folks. Take care.
You too. Thanks a lot.
Feel
Rob.
better, buddy.
Yep. And Rob, you make a really good point though about aren't there 7-Elevens and Quick Trips that basically say there is not, there's less than $200 in the safe after 11 p.m. So don't even try to rob us because it's not going to be worth your while.
Well, and in addition, outside of that kind of theft, I don't know. Let's just say Summerfest, okay? Or Lambeau Field or whatever. You can't vet everybody. That's a large, huge staff of people. They're probably getting robbed blind by their own people.
Well, which is why they went cashless.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, gone are the days. Man, I'm such a Pollyanna, you guys. I would
good old days.
I don't think that's the case. You just got done saying, I spent my whole life being disappointed. You're not a Pollyanna.
844-967-2789. We have time for one more call. Gary from Sussex. Good morning, Gary. How you doing?
Gary.
Hi. I own a heating and air conditioning business. So when people are ready to pay me $10,000 or $12,000 for a furnace and an air, I always ask for a check. I don't ask for cash because nobody's going to have $12,000 in cash.
Right.
But I get paid with a check. Now, if they're going to pay $10,000 and they're going to pay 3.1% for me to use my square, that's $310 extra. So I tell the people, they put their credit card out, and I tell them, I said, well, this is for cash or check. It's going to cost you more.
Yeah.
And then the people have to write a check. And you know what? You have no idea. People don't even know how to write a check anymore.
Oh, I believe it, Gary.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
It's terrible. I have to reread it. And I'm telling you, like 1 out of 5 or 6 checks, when I read it, they write it wrong.
Oh, man.
They either put the wrong date on it. They don't spell the words correctly. You can't understand it. My bank rejects them. They used to reject it. So, yeah, it's hard. So, but when I do, I give people prices. Anything else, it's all hidden in there. Like if you buy a TV or a washer or dryer, that 2.8 or 3.1% is already put into the price.
Right.
And I told my wife, I said, maybe what we should do is we should just put it in the price for now on and just take credit cards, and then just leave it at that. But people, I can save them money if they pay with a check.
That's a really good point, Gary. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you listening. Yeah, I never thought about not only I'm sorry, younger people, Calvin, that you guys can't count back change, and now apparently you can't write checks.
I take issue with that statement, but whatever.
Well, Liz said that to me too. She said, Mom, people of my generation just don't use cash. Period. They weren't brought up that way.
Right. It's a different world. Stay with us. When we come back, Carol has an update on a birthday celebration. You are listening to As Goes Wisconsin across the Civic Media Radio Network.
In the rich man's world. All the things I could do if I had a little money. It's the rich man's world. It's the rich man's world.
This is the Shaw, WAUK.
This is Mean Gene Okerlund, and I'm talking with Brett Yulberg, owner of Robert Hack Diamonds. Brett, I hear you pay cash for gold.
Not only gold, but silver, diamonds in any form like jewelry, teeth, coins, flatware.
Why should I sell you my gold?
Why not? Our store is the only store that recommends you shop around before you sell. This way you know you're getting the most money. But if Robert Hack Diamonds can't beat a competitor's offer on your scrap gold, we'll give you $20 just for letting us try.
Hey, what if I'm shy?
You? Well, at Robert Hack Diamonds, we sit with you at a table. We go through your items and make you an offer. You're not pressured, and we offer more on jewelry that we can resell.
Can I trade my gold for a new piece of jewelry?
Of course you can, and not only that, we can custom make a piece of jewelry using your gold and gems.
Hey, there you have it, folks. Sell your gold to my friends at Robert Hack Diamonds. Visit them on 76th and Layton in Greenfield. Robert Hack Diamonds, where they want your business.
You're listening to the Shaw, WAUK.
Good morning. Welcome to As Goes Wisconsin. Jane Matnair in for Kristen Bry. Calvin's on the board. Greg Bach in the studio. Birthday girl yesterday. Birthday. Happy birthday. Belated birthday, Carol Kane.
Thank you.
24.
Again.
Yeah, I wish.
24 times 3.
Yeah, exactly. Right in there.
I'm right up there with her.
Yep. 65. I turned the magical 65.
Congratulations.
Absolutely now part of the Medicare situation, which I actually was able to use for the very first time because I went to the walk-in clinic because I woke up on Tuesday and I was just miserable. So I'm like, okay. And I was able to show them my Medicare. I'm like, here you go. Knock it off. But it was, you know what? It was pretty laid back.
It's
Lou,
always odd when it's in the middle of the week.
yeah.
You know?
Well, Lou walked in on Tuesday night. He had to work. And he said, here, before I leave him outside to freeze. And he had this beautiful bouquet of, he knows I love yellow roses. They're my favorite. And so he had this big bouquet of roses, and that was fine. But like yesterday, now I understand I'm just starting to get my taste buds back and things like that.
You've been sick for over a week.
Yeah. And yeah, thank you, ear and sinus infection. Jiminy Christmas. I couldn't just give me one. So we're sitting there and he's like, yeah, I'm going to have something to eat for breakfast. And I go, well, what are you making? He goes, oh, I don't know. I'll just have some leftovers. And I said, what? I'm hungry. So I get up and I'm in the kitchen and I'm making my own friggin' breakfast. And he's just sitting there with his cup of coffee watching the news. Now, fast forward a number of hours later, and he's sitting there and he goes, I'm just going to have some leftovers for dinner. I go, it's my birthday. Can't you come up with something? And he's like, And I go, fine. And so I went old school. Years ago when we were poor as church mice and he couldn't muster up anything to take. And like I said, I get the fact that you can't take me out because I'm sick. But I said, all right, here it is. I opened a can of Hormel. Chili, brought out the hot dogs, brought out the tater tots, and we had chili dogs and tater tots. And that's what we had years ago when we didn't have 2 nickels to rub together.
Right, when you were starting out, when you were married.
Right. And so then later on, he's sitting there after he's eaten said chili dog and tater tots. And he said, well, would you like to go out for dinner tomorrow night or maybe Friday night? And I go, oh, no. And I'm starting to sound like a raving, you know what? But I said, don't sit there and now offer me to take me out for dinner because you feel guilty. And he says, well, but I do feel guilty. I probably should have planned something. I go, yeah, that would have been nice.
I would take the guilt dinner. What's wrong with you? Take the guilt dinner.
Yeah.
Pick somewhere really nice.
You can get 2 desserts then. My God. Milk it for all it's worth.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
the offer is there.
I was just like, oh my God, you've got to be kidding me. So, I mean, but we just sat and watched Netflix all day.
Kind of chilled.
Right.
That sounds like an amazing birthday.
Well, I mean, to tell you the truth, this new Netflix series that I found, Obliterated, is fantastic. It was fantastic. It's all about this elite team of, experts, and they're trying to track a bomb down, and it was really fun. But I was just like, Louie, I would never not plan something for you for your birthday. And his birthday is February 24th, and I'm already starting to not plan.
Who handles it, Greg? What is it like in your marriage? Do you make?
I love my wife. She's amazing.
But are you the one who do you make a big deal out of her birthday?
No, she doesn't want to make it. She doesn't want to make a big deal out of her birthday. We generally only we'll do dinner with family, give some presents, but neither one of us are big time partiers or celebrators. Like, I'll celebrate my birthdays on the 10s, but like my birthday's coming up next week, and it'll probably be dinner that night, and she'll get me a card, and there'll probably be a present, and that's perfect. I mean, but I am also like, yeah, and that's it. Like, neither one of us expects anything big. Neither one of us wants anything big.
I didn't want anything big.
She just wanted something.
I know. But you were asking me what we do, and like, it's like some other people, like, they're like, it's my birthday week. I'm like, you are 42. Shut up.
You don't get a week.
You don't get a week. You don't get a month. I'm a big proponent of celebrating your day. I don't think you should be like people who are like, it's another day. Who cares? No, it's your day. You don't have to make a thing of it. You don't have to put it out to the world, but go to a movie by yourself. Then take yourself out for a lunch. Like, celebrate you and that's great. But yeah, I like something simple. I like having my day, and if I can have, now I got my 2 ladies, but one of them is a dog. I'm not a Mormon.
Or anyway,
Although, yeah, just that statement was supremely interesting.
I know where you're going.
you're not a Republican in Florida. Anyway,
Whoa.
I do always buy myself a present, though.
You do?
Yeah, I have. I haven't bought my present yet because I've been so sick that I didn't want to go out and expose people to this crud. But I always buy something. It's not extravagant, you know. Maybe I find a candle that I like, or a shirt that I like, or maybe go online and find a new pair of tennis shoes so I can go out walking or something like that. But I always do buy myself something.
Yeah, that's great, and that's wonderful. I do the same thing too. I usually buy myself a present. Sometimes it's something real, like I'll just bought my whatever, and then I'll
splurge a little.
I'll splurge a little because I don't usually buy a lot of things for myself during the year, so I treat myself. Treat yourself 2023. All right.
My birthday is the week after New Year's.
Who cares?
Exactly. And that's the exact sentiment. It's people have been partying and celebrating for, over a month. And when it comes to around to my birthday, it's like, yeah, whatever.
Jane, we've had this conversation before. That doesn't mean you can't celebrate yourself and just enjoy the day. And it's your day.
Therefore, I'm going to go out and buy myself a car and put a big ribbon on it because I see that in Christmas commercials all the time. And I've never actually known someone who got a car in a bow for Christmas.
There's a great SNL sketch that does that where it's where the husband buys the wife a car and she goes, "What did you do?"
Exactly. Would you not be suspicious?
Don't we
what are you
where'd
making
you get
up
the
for?
money from?
And what are you making up for? This seems odd.
I did do the bow thing on my son's car we buy used cars, but I put the big bow on it. I found a big bow, and it was just fun.
I bet it was. All right, stay with us. News is coming up next. When we come back, public service announcement. Dr. Kristen Lyerly will be here. Among one of the things we're going to be kicking around, the superpowers of breast milk.
Don't point at me.
You don't want to miss it. This is As Goes Wisconsin. We air across the Civic Media Radio Network.
Keeping Southeast Wisconsin informed, engaged, and entertained. This is The Shaw, 540 AM and 101.1 FM, WAUK.
This is your hometown radio, refreshed, keeping you informed, entertained, and connected locally across the Civic Media Network. It's fully leaded education talk. Hard facts with a humorous twist. Check out Busted Pencils, Tuesdays at 7 on The Shaw, 540 AM and 101.1 FM WAUK, and on the Civic Media app. It's never personal, only politics. The Devil's Advocates Radio Show with Dom and Crute. Weekdays from 4 until 6 on your local Civic Media radio station and on the Civic Media app. You're listening to The Shaw, WAUK 540 AM Jackson, W266DR Waukesha, and always streaming on the Civic Media app.
CBS News brief. A judge in Texas has given a woman permission for an abortion despite the state's ban. Doctors say the fetus has a fatal diagnosis. Former President Trump is in New York attending his civil fraud trial again today. He criticized it as a witch hunt.
I don't think it's an effective legal strategy, but I don't think that they're designing that, in a certain way. They're setting up their appeal.
Legal analyst Rebecca Royfee. Students at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas are describing what happened during yesterday's shooting on campus.
I heard 3 gunshots, pop, 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 and I was like, oh my God. There was a second when, I thought that was it.
3 people were killed, 1 wounded. Police say the gunman was shot and killed. He was turned down for a job there. The House has voted today to censure Democrat Jamal Bowman of New York for triggering a fire alarm in one of the Capitol office buildings when the chamber was in session. CBS News Brief. I'm Steve Kathan.
It's fully leaded education talk. Hard facts with a humorous twist. Check out Busted Pencils, Tuesdays at 7 on The Shaw, 540 AM and 101.1 FM WAU.
Civic Media News. I'm Terry Bell. Here's what Wisconsin needs to know. Wisconsin's fake Trump electors are admitting Joe Biden won the presidency in 2020. It's part of a civil lawsuit settlement announced yesterday. Jeff Mandel of the liberal firm Law Forward says they only wanted transparency and accountability from the 10 Republicans.
This isn't about vengeance. It's not about punishing or embarrassing anyone. It's making sure that the people of Wisconsin fully understand what happened and that we take steps to make sure it doesn't happen again.
Mandel was on the Devil's Advocate show on Civic Media. Wisconsin will spend $6 million to provide free driver's education classes to 15,000 teenagers. The goal is to cut down on reckless driving. Students who get free or reduced meals at school would qualify. It's one of dozens of bills the governor signed into law yesterday. I'm Terry Bell, Civic Media News. Now here's what you need to know closer to home.
For WAUK News, I'm Stuart J. Waddles. About 30 Wauwatosans are getting help from the Red Cross after a fire at an apartment complex last night. It was at a 2-story, 12-unit building on West Hampton, and 3 firefighters were treated for minor injuries, along with 2 people that lived there. Police say several folks just driving by stopped to help with the emergency. The cause is under investigation. The plan that puts southeastern Wisconsin in the middle of a major train upgrade is getting support. Increased Amtrak service is gaining momentum in Wisconsin as Senator Tammy Baldwin announced that the federal government has prioritized 5 train routes in the state. The routes connect between Milwaukee, Minneapolis, Madison, Eau Claire, the Twin Cities, Chicago, La Crosse, St. Paul, and Green Bay. The senator's announcement signifies a growing likelihood of expanded rail services in the region. And that's what you need to know. I'm Stuart J. Waddles, WAUK News.
When I first had my baby, I'd get comments all the time about how happy I must be. I remember thinking, I want to be happy. Why don't I feel that way? It was hard to admit that, even to my doctor. But I'm glad I did. She told me it was postpartum depression, and that is very treatable. These days, things are feeling good, and we're both happier about that. Right, little man? I'll take that as a yes.
Mental health care is working for Simone. See what it can do for you at mentalhealthcareworks.org. A message from the American Psychiatric Association Foundation.
Wisconsin basketball teams heating up. Hi, I'm Mike Clemens with sports. Last night in college hoops, Marquette with a decisive 85-65 win over Texas. Marquette will play Notre Dame on Saturday night. The Wisconsin Badgers, after beating Michigan State, are headed to Tucson to take on number 1 ranked Arizona Saturday afternoon, 2:15. But we start with the NBA and Milwaukee Bucks taking on the Pacers in the second round of the in-season tournament.
Anytime you get put in a situation where everybody has an opportunity to win something, and in the end, only one person can win, I think that's an opportunity to show some level of dominance. Even though it's not the NBA Finals, you can show we all had this opportunity, and only one team is going to be the last team standing. And I think that's a confidence builder for any team. I think it shows, who's going to fight for it, who's going to go after it when the competition is at its highest. And I think you see in a lot of these in-season tournament games, you can see teams are going after it.
That's the Bucks' Damian Lillard. With sports, I'm Mike Clemens.
Here's your updated forecast on the Shaw. High of 47 this afternoon, under sunny skies, winds out of the south, 5 to 10 miles an hour. Partly cloudy tonight, lows around 38. Cloudy tomorrow, 54. For Civic Media, I'm meteorologist Eric Height. Currently, it's 39 degrees.
Lexi spent more than 6 years in foster care.
Before I was adopted, I felt alone.
With help from the Dave Thomas Foundation for Adoption, Lexi now has a forever family and the foundation for a bright future.
Adoption changed me for the better. I feel like I can be whoever I want to be.
You can help find permanent homes for children still lingering in foster care. Learn more at davethomasfoundation.org.
Did you know this local radio station is part of Civic Media? Learn more about the entire network at civicmedia.us. Your home of the Earl Ingram Show, weekday mornings from 8 till 10 on The Shaw, 540 AM and 101.1 FM WAUK. From the Civic Media Radio Network, moving Wisconsin forward one joke at a time. This is As Goes Wisconsin with Kristen Bry.
Where it's going, no one knows. Hello, Wisconsin!
Now, filling in for the new mom, here's Jane Matinaire.
Good morning. Welcome to As Goes Wisconsin on this beautiful spring day. Jane in for Kristen. Calvin's on the board. Carol Kane and Greg Bach with me in studio, and you can always join us at 844-967-2789, 844-96.
Party.
And if you ever have a question for our next guest, you can always text that in as well or email us at asgoeswisconsin.civicmedia.us. It's Thursday. It's 11:06. It's time for our public service announcement with Dr. Kristen Lyerly. Good morning, Dr. K. How are you?
Hooray! Good morning. And it does feel like spring outside, doesn't it?
It really does. It's beautiful. If you have a chance to get outside for lunch or open up your windows or go for a drive, it's glorious. Right. And tomorrow is going to be even better. Yeah. Dr. Lyerly, we're going to start off. We do want to talk about the superpowers of breast milk because this came up yesterday when Kristen was here. So we'll get to that in a little bit. But I did want to start with the decision that came down this week from a Dane County Circuit Court ruling that the 1849 law does not ban abortion in Wisconsin. And as a provider, you must be very relieved.
I'm not just a provider. I was on the case. The actual ruling reads here, I'll read it to you. The order is, for the reasons stated, the court grants Dr. Kristen Lyerly's motion for summary judgment. So yes, as a doctor, I'm over the moon. As a person who's on this case, this just means so much to me. I actually couldn't sleep after the judgment came out because it has taken so much emotional energy. You know, I get to sit in rooms with people as they're telling me their stories and helping me understand their individual circumstances. And even though I've been a doctor for over 10 years, I am surprised sometimes at the things that people tell me. I don't expect it because everyone is so different. And that's why we can't legislate things like this. We can't legislate our individual healthcare decisions. So yes, this ruling means so much to me as a plaintiff, as a woman, as an OBGYN, as a Wisconsinite. This is a really big deal.
I think you make a good point, though, Dr. Lyerly. There seems to be this assumption by some that every pregnancy is exactly the same for every woman.
Yeah.
Right. It's just this is a natural part of life and you get pregnant and it happens and everything is good and la, la, la. And that's not reality.
I remember being in training and I would walk into a new OB visit like, congratulations, this is amazing. And I quickly learned not to do that because some people are not joyful or some people feel really sick. So they're not happy. So, I'll walk in now and be like, how are you? And then they can tell me how they feel and we can figure out where the problems are and the landmines are and how to explore this. But, the general sentiment that pregnancy is always joyful and amazing, it is not. It is hard. It is hard on your body. It is hard on your mind, on your soul, on your life, on your relationship. Pregnancy is challenging and we've got to support each other.
Absolutely.
Yeah, both my pregnancies were problematic in the fact that for some reason, the placenta pulled away from the uterus on my left side, and that caused so many issues in the testing, and that's what landed me in the hospital for 7 weeks before Alex was born. So I totally agree with you in the fact that it is not a walk in the park. Now, are some women, it's simple. It's very nice. It's nothing. But for others, that's why I didn't go for number 3 because I was just like, I feel like I'm thumbing my nose at the gods. I'm lucky I've got these 2. So you're absolutely right. It is it's a job is what it is.
Yeah.
It is a job.
Yeah. And it doesn't it doesn't come without risks. You know, when you hear politicians talking about the risks of abortion and they make it sound so like terrible, actually it's very simple and very low risk. You know what's risky? Pregnancy. Carrying a pregnancy to term is almost 20 times riskier than an abortion during the first trimester. Things happen, and we are an older and less healthy population as time goes on. So we've got more problems with blood pressure issues and diabetes and lots of other things that, you know, frankly, we didn't see even 20 years ago because our population is changing. So I would just caution people just to, you know, approach pregnancy with a thoughtful eye and set your assumptions aside.
Definitely.
You know, when it comes to abortion, though, here's my situation, because I know people that have done this and they use it if it's a necessary thing or if it's unwanted pregnancy, rape, incest, that kind of thing. I totally understand it, but I don't like it. And I have seen it in a couple of people that I know. They use it more as a form of birth control. You know what I mean? And the fact that they don't use birth control and they get pregnant and they use the abortion as the solution. And I'm not really quite in that camp.
I think that is a common talking point from the conservatives. But in my experience as an abortion provider, that is really uncommon. Because think about it. I mean, think about the burden that your body has to endure. Like, it's so much easier if you have access to birth control. It's so much easier just to take the birth control, you know, just to get the device, just to do the thing to prevent, than it is to go through all of the physical parts of an abortion, the cost. It's not cheap. The time away from work, the extra childcare that you need, you know, it is really uncommon in my experience that someone uses abortion as birth control, especially when you start to look at why they're there. What are the socioeconomic conditions?
Sure.
What's happening in their relationship? I've met plenty of women who are coerced to get pregnant. I mean, I had a woman one time say, my husband wants to keep me pregnant because that's how he controls me. So you don't know. It is. And these people are not telling their stories on the radio because they're horrible stories. They're personal stories. They don't tell anybody, but they tell me because I'm in the room with them and they need an ear. So I would, you know, I mean, maybe you've heard that, Carol, but I have definitely, that is a very uncommon situation in my experience.
No, I'm glad that's your experience, to tell you the truth.
And I think also, let's not forget that there are still a number of steps that women have to go through in Wisconsin in order to access abortion care. There's still a 24-hour waiting period, right?
Oh, yeah, even for like a medication abortion. You know, during this when abortion wasn't legal, and hey, abortion is now legal in Wisconsin. I can't say it enough. But when abortion wasn't legal in Wisconsin, a lot of people were ordering pills online, which you still can do. And without any medical supervision, they would order their pills, they would get them, they would take them, and they would do it all by themselves without any help. Well, in Wisconsin, in order to do the same thing, to have a medication abortion, you have to go to usually Madison or Milwaukee. You have to have a visit with a physician. You have to be read all of this misinformation. Really, it's bad. It's not medically accurate information, but the state mandated it. You have to then wait at least 24 hours. Then you have to go back to the same clinic to meet with the same exact physician who you talked to the first time so that I can hand you a pill that you then take in the clinic and, you know,
I got to be
finish
honest
the
with you.
process.
I didn't realize all these steps. I mean, I really did not realize all these steps. So, I mean, that's why you're here, is to help educate us. And I think that's great. I mean, you know, you can't just walk in and go, hey, this is what I want to do. Not at all.
Well, and the same thing with gender affirming care. 9-year-olds are not walking into doctors' offices and saying, I want top surgery. Let's do it today.
Right.
No way.
And I think that is the inference by some in order to horrify people, even though that is not something that's actually happening.
A lot of gender affirming care involves counseling and
Yes.
education and support. And that is really what, when someone enters that arena where they are seeking that, that's what they get. They don't, like you said, they don't just walk in and they get their top surgery like it's, like they're getting it from a vending machine. It is a whole process of figuring out who are you, what do you need, what is your support structure like, all of that stuff goes into it. And again, this is an individualized decision taking into account someone's medical condition, someone's psychological condition, someone's mental health, and all of those things in order to determine what's the next right thing for you as a person.
Dr. Kristen Lyerly is here for our public cervix announcement every Thursday at 11:06. Kristen Bry was with us yesterday, Dr. Kristen, and she was talking about breast milk and how sometimes Frankie Lou only wants, she is not going to take the bottle. She wants her breast milk. And then we had Tom from Grafton call and asked about whether or not breastfed babies are more immune, if they have better immune systems and develop fewer allergies, because he and his sister were breastfed. He has two other siblings that weren't, and they both have, one has a peanut allergy, one has dealt with many other allergies. So is breast milk a super food?
It is. And anybody who's ever breastfed a child knows that breast milk is liquid gold. Preserve it at all costs.
Oh, that's what Kristen was talking about. Yeah. Freezing it, like pumping, freezing. She's like, I have bricks of it. I'm like, this sounds like a reboot of Breaking Bad. Like, this is
in the black market.
Breaking breast.
Breaking breast. Well done.
No, Tom is right. We have plenty of data and evidence that shows that babies who are breastfed have stronger immune systems. And a lot of that is because we know that the antibodies that we have as, mature adults get passed on to the babies through breast milk. And we also know that not just breast milk, but if you are pregnant and you get your RSV vaccine, you get your Tdap vaccine, you are passing those antibodies to your baby and protecting your baby from viruses that we otherwise don't have a lot of. We've got some treatment for RSV right now, but we don't have enough to go around. But pertussis is whooping cough is a terrible disease. If your young child has ever had whooping cough, they can absolutely die, but they're miserable. So if you can get a vaccine in pregnancy to pass that immunity on to them, perfect.
Well, and you know what, to tell you the truth, don't feel guilty if you're not a huge, producer. Because, some women just are not really good at it.
And just can't, their body just doesn't do it.
Right.
Oh, for sure.
There's no shame in that. It's just the reality of the situation. Stick around. We're going to be talking about Ozempic. And I've been wanting to talk about this for a while. Speaking of things that are magical, I have questions. Stay close. You're listening to As Goes Wisconsin on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Gotta be strong and it's gotta be fast and it's gotta be fresh from the fight. I need a hero. I'm holding on for a hero till the morning light. He's gotta be strong and he's gotta be soon and he's gotta be larger than life. I need a hero. I'm holding on for a hero till the end of the night. He's gotta be strong and he's gotta be fast and he's gotta be fresh from the fight. I need a hero. I'm holding on for a hero till the morning light. He's gotta be strong.
The Shaw, WAUK.
Are you being offered a complete seed treatment package? If your seed treatment doesn't help against soybean diseases like white mold, sudden death syndrome, and rhizoctonia, then it's not complete. Heads Up Seed Treatment offers protection against all of these diseases through its unique mode of action, systemic acquired resistance. Don't get caught off guard in 2024. Get the best defense against the unpredictability of each season by completing your seed treatment package with Heads Up. Visit headsupst.com to learn more.
Discover the secret to a healthier you at Lake County Botanics. Vape Walkie specializes in top quality hemp products from CBD to Delta 8, all curated just for you. You'll find Delta 8, Delta 10, THCA, and more legal hemp compounds in disposable vapes, cartridges, edibles, and more. Isolates, broad spectrum, or full spectrum CBD, they've got it all. They even have products for your furry friend. Open Monday to Saturday, 11 to 7, and Sundays from 11 to 5. Mention this ad to get a free gummy at 215 Oakton Avenue, Suite C. If you walk, LakeCountyBotanics.com.
This is The Shaw, WAUK.
Good morning and welcome to As Goes Wisconsin. So happy to have you along. Jane Matnair in for Kristen Bry. Calvin's on the board. Carol King, Greg Bach with me in studio, and joining us on the stream for our weekly public service announcement, Dr. Kristen Lyerly. You can always check in if you want to call or text, or if you have a question for the doctor, 844-967-2789. Dr. Lyerly, we were just talking about these superpowers of breast milk and all the advantages if women are able to do that. So what are the benefits for both mom and baby?
Yeah, and I also want to invite callers and texters because we love interaction. So feel free to share your experiences. But I'll just list off some of the cool things that breastfeeding does for babies, including breast milk is the ideal food for your baby. Not only does it have the antibodies that we were talking about before, it's easier for babies to digest. It has the right amount of fat and sugar and water and protein and minerals that babies need for their growth and development. It also means that it also conveys a lower risk for sudden infant death syndrome, which is SIDS. So breastfed babies are less likely to die of SIDS. And we know that also breast milk can help reduce the risk of many of the short and long-term health problems that can affect preterm babies. So breast milk is particularly important for preterm babies. And it's funny that you mentioned Kristen's frozen breast milk, because we have breast milk banks for babies that end up in the neonatal intensive care unit and their moms can't be there to hold them and breastfeed them all the time. So we turn to those banks to make sure that these babies get breast milk instead of formula.
Wow. And again, though, we were talking just off the air, it's got to be really difficult for women who want to breastfeed and things just don't work. The baby won't latch. She can't produce enough.
Right.
It's got to be immensely frustrating. And I bet there's all kinds of judgy people out there on Facebook and stuff. Well, what do you mean you're not breastfeeding? Don't you love your child? Well,
in addition to the milk itself, doctor, I found it so connecting as a mom with my baby to go off into a little quiet area and nurse my child. It forged that love. It was so important for me. Just psychologically, it was so important.
Yeah, we've got data to support that too. It helps to increase that bond. It helps us bleed less because the actual action of breast milk releases oxytocin that makes the uterus clamp down, so that reduces the risk of postpartum bleeding. And it also helps us lose weight in the postpartum period because you need an extra 500 calories a day in order to produce all that breast milk. So people who breastfeed tend to lose weight quicker.
While we are speaking on the subject of losing weight, Ozempic has just exploded now in the last couple of years. And I saw a picture of Oprah from recently, and she said, "Oh no, I did this naturally." She looks like she's a size 4.
But she has the money to be able to do it naturally.
That's true. But let's talk about Ozempic, and specifically for women who are going through menopause.
Yeah, well, it's been shown to combat menopausal weight gain. As women are going through menopause, we tend to notice, I don't know about you ladies, but our belly fat tends to increase. And that is a really troubling thing. No amount of exercise, no amount of dietary changes. It's just part of the whole process of the hormonal changes. And it's really hard, I think, for us to look at our bodies and go, no, not another thing.
I have an inner tube around my waist. Lovely.
Yes. Yeah. And, really there aren't a lot of solutions, but Ozempic is one thing that is now being seriously considered for menopausal weight gain and that distribution of fat around your belly.
It's very expensive, though, isn't it?
It is expensive. And it was only recently truly FDA approved to treat weight gain, to treat obesity. So insurance companies tend to be reluctant to cover it because of the only recently FDA approved.
Do you think because it can be tied to menopausal weight loss, or that will maybe You know, like if you're taking Ozempic, you're like, I want to lose some weight, but because of menopause, do you think that might push the insurance companies to be a little more lenient with their coverage, or do you just like they're be like, no, if you don't need it, you don't need it.
I
In their
love so
minds, you
much-
don't need it.
I love that you asked that question because we are still begging insurance companies to cover vaginal estrogen for people who are dealing with postmenopausal dryness and itching and infections. And that affects most postmenopausal people. So if they're not covering that, which is a huge, huge deal, I would be surprised. I don't have any data to support it, but I would be surprised if insurance companies would be like chomping at the bit to cover Ozempic for menopausal weight
Meanwhile,
gain.
I'm going to go to my doctor right now and get like 5 prescriptions for Viagra. Bye.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Greg Bach. Thank you. 844-967-2789. Cindy from Appleton is on the line. Good morning, Cindy. Do you have a question for Dr. Lyerly?
Yeah, I was going to say, but they do cover, I think, Viagra. Yes. I'll tell you what, I don't get it. Anyway, the question I have is if they would put the Ozempic out for menopausal women to help with weight loss, do the benefits of this outweigh the side effects of it?
That's a great question, Cindy. And I think that is an individualized answer. So for some people, they really have a hard time with Ozempic. This is not a free ride. It makes you not hungry, but it makes some people really nauseated. And food is such an important part of our lives. You know, we spend our days kind of thinking about what we're going to eat and who we're going to eat with. And when you abruptly change that piece of your life, it changes a lot of things about your relationship and how you get through your day. So it's tricky. I mean, it's not as simple as I'm just going to lose weight. It's how am I going to feel and how is it going to affect my daily habits and all of those other things. Having said that, for many people, it's worth a try. If you have tried everything else, if you really feel inspired by this and you and your doctor feels it's a good option for you, it may be worth a try to see if it is a great choice for you.
Dr. Lyerly, do we know what happens when you stop taking Ozempic?
Well, just like with all of the other medications that help us lose weight, we believe that the weight comes back on. We've got limited data because we've only been using it for weight loss for a short period of time. So it's hard to know long term, but we've had this experience with a number of other weight loss medications. And when you stop the medication, the weight tends to come back.
It's just like if you stop the exercise in your body. I had a podcast about body image and weight loss and everything, and we did a lot of research on this, and your body fights to go back to what it was used to, and unfortunately people will interpret that as failure, but like I have
it's
to
your
imagine
body's set point.
Yeah, imagine if you go off of Ozempic, it's like that medicine is gone. It's like your body's like back to where we were, and then people feel like, well, here I am again starting all over from scratch.
But on the upside, if you can develop some new habits, maybe you will end up at a lower set point. So that's a positive.
Dr. Kristen Lyerly, love talking to you. She joins us every Thursday at 11:06. Thank you so very much. Have a wonderful week. Stay with us, talking sports when we come back with Paul Noonan. You're listening to As Goes Wisconsin on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Waukesha, home of Les Paul, our awesome farmers market, and The Shaw, 540 AM and 101.1 FM, WAUK.
Civic Media News. I'm Terry Bell. Here's what Wisconsin needs to know. Wisconsin is getting $2.5 million to study new Amtrak service in Madison, Green Bay, and Eau Claire that would connect with Milwaukee, Chicago, and the Twin Cities. Wisconsin is also getting federal grants to support studying expanding service between Milwaukee and Chicago on the existing Hiawatha service line, as well as adding a third daily round trip between Chicago, Milwaukee, and Twin Cities through Wisconsin. A Republican prosecutor says he plans to appeal this week's court ruling allowing consensual abortions in Wisconsin. Dane County Judge Diane Schlipper ruled this week that Wisconsin's 1849 law outlaws someone from attacking a woman to try to kill a fetus. Sheboygan County DA Joel Ermansky maintains state law clearly outlaws abortions. I'm Terry Bell, Civic Media News. Now here's what you need to know closer to home.
For WAUK News, I'm Stuart J. Waddles. The Milwaukee police officer involved in a collision with a semi in Oak Creek Sunday has died. James Nowak passed away late last night due to severe head injuries sustained in the crash. Nowak was the partner of fallen Milwaukee police officer Peter Jerving. Nowak's family has set up an online fundraiser to help with medical and funeral expenses. A Waukesha man pulled from an apartment fire on Thanksgiving has died. Investigators say Thomas Buffone passed away due to injuries in a fire likely caused by either a candle or overloaded electrical outlets. The building on Arcadian in Oakland lacked modern fire safety features being built in 1918. The Sheboygan County District Attorney intends to contest a recent ruling regarding Wisconsin's abortion ban. The DA there says the law unequivocally encompasses all abortions, contrary to the Dane County judge's ruling. And that's what you need to know. I'm Stuart J. Waddles, WAUK News.
Roll into this Friday night and strike a chord of fun, food, and music at Foxview Lanes in Waukesha. The Friday Night Live Music Party kicks off at 8 p.m. and goes until midnight every Friday night. And the best part of this party, there's no cover charge. While you're having fun, grab dinner and take advantage of $2 off all sandwiches on Friday night. This Friday night, party with the music of Depot Express, 2440 West Sunset Drive in Waukesha. Call 262-544-2010 or check out foxviewlanes.com.
Wisconsin basketball teams heating up. Hi, I'm Mike Clemens with sports. Last night in college hoops, Marquette with a decisive 85-65 win over Texas. Marquette will play Notre Dame on Saturday night. The Wisconsin Badgers, after beating Michigan State, are headed to Tucson to take on number 1 ranked Arizona Saturday afternoon, 2:15. But we start with the NBA and Milwaukee Bucks taking on the Pacers in the second round of the in-season tournament.
Anytime you get put in a situation where everybody has an opportunity to win something, and in the end, only one person can win, I think that's an opportunity to show some level of dominance. Even though it's not the NBA Finals, you can show we all had this opportunity, and only one team is going to be the last team standing. And I think that's a confidence builder for any team. I think it shows, who's going to fight for it, who's going to go after it when the competition is at its highest. And I think you see in a lot of these in-season tournament games, you can see teams are going after it.
At the Bucks, Damian Lillard. With sports, I'm Mike Clemens.
Here's your updated forecast on the Shaw. High of 47 this afternoon, under sunny skies, winds out of the south, 5 to 10 miles an hour. Partly cloudy tonight, lows around 38. Cloudy tomorrow, 54. For Civic Media, I'm meteorologist Eric Height. Currently, it's 43 degrees.
1 in 4 Americans today are living with a disability. I'm one of them. People with disabilities are extremely talented, resilient problem solvers that have so much to offer. And we've got a trusted ally on our side, an organization we can rely on, Easter Seals. Easter Seals is leading the way to full equity, inclusion, and access to healthcare, employment, and education for people with disabilities, families, and communities. That's my Easter Seals. Make it yours.
Learn more and get involved at easterseals.com.
Whether you're heading down Les Paul Parkway or fighting traffic on the interstates, this is The Shaw, 540 AM and 101.1 FM, WAUK.
DJ Khaled! Yeah! All I do is win, 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 no matter what. Got money on my mind.
Good morning. Welcome to As Goes Wisconsin. Good morning, lacrosse, listening on the Eagle WLCX and on the Buzz of the North in Hayward WBZH. Jane Matnair in for Kristen Bry. Calvin's on the board. Carol Kane, Greg Bach with me in studio, and our sports guru of the day, Paul Noonan, is here. He writes for the Acme Packing Company, has a great Brewers podcast that Greg Bach speaks very highly of Paul
Milwaukee's
Noonan.
Tailgate Brewers podcast.
He says it's wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us, Paul. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Well, let's start off with the Packers. I don't know. Am I the only one who just does not feel confident? I still think
Yes, you are.
because I am a worst case scenario person. My father was a mortician, so I started death and then I worked my way up.
So
some people see death as a new beginning.
And I'm so worried, Paul, that we're all feeling positive and they can make it into the playoffs, and then we're just gonna get smoked somewhere down the line.
So I think they may drop a game or two on the backstretch here just because they are a young team and they're still going to be subject to sort of highs and lows that veterans with more experience aren't. But I think coming into the season, we didn't really expect them to be Super Bowl contenders in the first place. And if they get around to the playoffs, like, first of all, they're looking great to make the playoffs. They are above 50% to make the playoffs. If the playoffs started today, they'd be in the playoffs. And their schedule is the easiest remaining schedule of any NFL team. They're looking great to make the playoffs, which is a huge accomplishment for a team that's the youngest team in the NFL. If they get run in the first round, I think that's fine. This is a good experience building year, and anything on top of getting into the playoffs is absolutely gravy. Right? By the way, right now they play the Lions if they're in, and that's not even a bad matchup for them. Like, they can do some damage if they end up getting the Lions in the first round of the playoffs. So I think they're looking great. This was a great win against Kansas City, a fantastic win. We hadn't seen this offense up against a good defense yet. This is basically entire season. They've had a pretty easy schedule. Kansas City has the second best pass defense in football. They have shut down far better teams, more well-regarded teams than the Packers. No team has put 27 points on them until the Packers. That was a good statement win for the offense, that they're actually for real and not just beating up on a bunch of nobodies. So I'm actually more confident than I've been all season. They'll look great in this game.
And actually, Tay-Tay's magic did not work for the Chiefs on Sunday night, because up until that point, if Taylor Swift was at a Chiefs game, they won.
Yeah,
So
she was undefeated.
The spell may be broken.
Maybe Simone Biles has some magic.
Maybe she does. Although it didn't work to get Jonathan Owens not called for a penalty that he didn't actually commit.
I stand corrected.
Travis Kelce actually looked a little bit slow in this game, and I do wonder if he has a nagging injury that was undisclosed. He had a good game, don't get me wrong. He had like 20 yards a catch, but he was dragging off of his routes, and most of his catches were just he wasn't covered, because we're still not good at that. But I think that the Taylor magic wasn't there for him today. He looked like he was into it. Body language was bad.
Do you think in a situation like this, because you've got the Super Bowl champs coming into Lambeau with a young team, that there is an underestimation of what the Packers are capable of doing?
Probably a little bit, yes. I think it's easy to look ahead on games like that, and especially for a game for the Chiefs. It's out of their conference. It doesn't have as big an impact on them, and it is a road game. They probably are much more concerned about winning their conference games down the road. So there's definitely some of that. The other thing is, as much as I rail on the Packer defense struggling a lot of the times, it's designed specifically to stop the Chiefs. It doesn't work against other people as well, but it actually works pretty well against them. The Joe Barry defense has actually shut the Chiefs down more than kind of any other team over the last few years. You'll recall Jordan Love started against them before, when when I think it was the Rodgers vaccine suspension, if memory serves.
Oh, wow.
And they actually shut down Patrick Mahomes in that game too. It's like what they're supposed to do. It doesn't work against power teams and power backs, but they play well against Kansas City. It's a good matchup for them usually.
Paul Noonan is our guest. He's a writer for the Acme Packing Company, also has a Brewers podcast. So is Jordan Love the real deal? Or can we settle on Jordan and fully embrace him as our own?
I think so. I'm not sure if he's ever going to be like the best quarterback in the league, but he's shown enough that I think he's certainly going to be the starter next year, and deservedly so. And there's enough talent there that they can work with him. And whatever little kind of deficiencies he still has aren't showing up as much anymore. I think the big one, I think that they've actually coached around really well, especially over the last 2 weeks, is just understanding that some of his deep balls, you're going to have to fight for a little bit. Just as an example of that, before the Detroit game, Christian Watson had 10 contested catch opportunities and had caught one of them. And then in the Detroit game, he caught 5. And last week, he caught like 3 or 4. I think they just practiced like, okay, this is a Love thing, and you're all 6'4". Like, go just get the ball. But Romeo Doubs has also been notably better at that as well. And I think that's just that's just smart. Like Love can get it out there. It's just not everybody's going to be good at everything. So he makes every correct decision. That is the biggest thing Love does. His reads are like perfect. He throws an inaccurate ball every once in a while, but when you're making the right call basically every time, you can get away with that. So as long as he remains a cool customer and doesn't panic when the pocket's collapsing around him, which he doesn't, I think they got something here. He's good.
And Keshawn Nixon really was a standout too in that game.
He was brilliant and is probably the major reason they won that game. For those who didn't see after the game, Keyshawn Nixon discussed his interception, which was one of the best interceptions I think I've ever seen. He actually read a tell that Patrick Mahomes had on an audible he called, where he caught him tapping his knee, which was the signal for that sort of quick fade to Sky Moore. And so he knew that pass was coming, which is why it looked like he knew the pass was coming. he was right, and he ran that route much better than Sky Moore. And that is just that is good film work and good recognition from a really smart player. And honestly, that interception allowed them to push that lead from 5 to 8. 5-point lead against Mahomes and the Chiefs is very dangerous. An 8-point lead, you have a lot more leeway to take chances and make mistakes. It was the biggest play of the game. It will end up on a lot of Packer plays of the year and deservedly so.
Let's move on to the Brewers. And I know, Greg, you had a question for Paul about this contract deal.
Yeah, so the Brewers have signed Jackson Chourio to an 8-year deal, I believe.
It's 8 years with 2 team options on the end of it. So I would say it's more accurately a 10-year deal, which is important for its math working out.
So in discussing this development with the Brewers with my friends, I've got one side who's like stressing their brains out because they're like, he's never played a single game in the major leagues, and we're giving him all this money, we're giving him all this time. And then the other side's like, this is going to be amazing. We're going to develop one of the best players in the league. I want you to please, for me, explain to me this deal, because it's a very interesting deal that I, as a not too old baseball fan, has never seen before, especially in the Brewers at least.
Yep, and it really hasn't happened before. It is an unprecedented deal for a player as young as Jackson Chourio, who has just had a cup of coffee above AA so far. So first of all, he is likely the best prospect they've ever had in the history of the franchise. He is as well regarded as Robin Yount was in the late 70s, early 80s. He is about the same age as when Yount was called up. And all of his comps are essentially to the best players in baseball when you run them. Now, that doesn't mean this is a no-risk deal. Guys flame out all the time when they're the best prospects in baseball. That is not unprecedented at all. So there's definitely risk here on the Brewers side.
Mm-hmm.
However, the upside is very, very high. And more than anything, Chourio has excelled every time he's been moved up. And he has very quickly dealt with whatever problems he has had upon going up a level. His contact rate is his biggest current issue, but he's had that before. And as soon as he's gotten used to pitching, it's been fine. Now, as for the deal itself, it is, I think, a good deal all around. It gets Jackson Chourio paid. I always like the players getting paid. They do the work. They should get the money, and he's set for life. And he's a young Dominican kid, and good for him. But from the Brewers' perspective, what they've done here is essentially buy out 4 years of free agency from Chourio with this deal. Major League Baseball teams control their guys for 6 years upon playing them in the majors, with some arbitration years that the Brewers also don't like. They're not a good arbitration team. They get into fights with people.
No, they really hosed. Was it Wood
Corbin Burns? I would say
Corbin. It was Corbin. Yeah, over like nothing,
like $100,000. Yeah. But what they basically have here is they're going to be paying Chourio the salary of an average Major League Baseball player per year from here on out. He's getting $84 million for the first 8 years of the deal. And then there's team options on the back end that will escalate that quite a bit if he's a star. But if he's not a star, they can cut bait after that. And honestly, it's not that bad a contract. So there's risk here, but it's not like the Braun or Yelich extensions when those happened, where they were paying, star level guys who then fell off for steroids and injuries and other things.
Yeah.
This is, I think, eyes wide open that if he does flame out, it's not crippling to the organization at all. It's a very, I think, low risk deal. It's not good to be sending, $8 to $10 million out the door every year, but it's also not crippling to a baseball team. It's not that much money for a baseball team.
Sports guru Paul Noonan is our guest. We're talking about the Brewers and the Brewers signing that big deal with this very young player. This is kind of off to the side a little bit, Paul, but I genuinely worry about these really young guys.
Oh, I was just going to say that.
I do. I really worry about them psychologically and all the pressure that they're under and the microscopes that they're under. So does Major League Baseball provide guidance to these kids? Because otherwise I volunteer as extra mom.
It's really up to the team, and they offer guidance, but this is really about team and personnel management. And one thing that the Brewers do have going for them that a lot of teams don't is they do have a very strong Venezuelan-specific organization. They actually scout Venezuela more than just about any Major League Baseball team. And they have a good structure throughout the org of people who speak the language, people who understand the culture, which Venezuelan culture, very complicated for a lot of reasons. And it is up to them to make sure that he stays out of trouble, that he, basically that he has some kind of road and resources to mature. And he is by all accounts a very mature kid, but 19-year-olds getting $80 million. I mean,
that's pretty heady stuff.
Not casting aspersions on anybody. When I was 19, if you gave me $80 million, that would not have been a good idea for me.
We would all be. I would be dead by now if I had been given $80 million at 19 years old.
Exactly. That's the thing. I mean, when I was 19, I wasn't making diddly squat, but I was wild.
Yeah.
Just imagine if you had all that all that money.
I can't. I mean, I really can't. He's got to have a huge support system when it comes to his family and friends and things like that. That's where you have to step in.
Yep, you do, and I think the organization is well set up there. I actually thought that Milwaukee seems to be actually a pretty good spot for that to happen. Not everybody's Giannis, but I do think the local teams do have a good understanding of how the city works, how the athletes feed into it, and they're good on support structure. So I also think when you give deals like this, you scout makeup. We talk about 5 tool players in baseball. The 5th one is makeup. It's maturity. It's are you professional and do you handle yourself well? You don't get deals like this if you've got big red flags on your personality. that they don't hand that out to guys who they think are going to just take the money and run
and blow it.
Yeah.
Paul, real quickly in the time we have left, the Bucks.
You ready to win a cup?
I'm so confused.
The in-season tournament I actually kind of like. It's very, very silly, but it's been fun and kind of it's hard. It's a hard sell on American audiences, I think, especially like European soccer has lots of stuff like this. And I've liked it, like the World Baseball Classic's kind of fun in the same way. It's weird to have it in season, but it is kind of fun to have something to root for and get a trophy at the end. And the Bucks seem to be taking well to it, and it may even lend itself to some sort of I doubt they care that much, but some postseason training a little bit too, because it's a little bit more on the line than a normal regular season game. Not a ton, but a little bit. It's a good time, and they've been good lately. We should give the Bucks some credit. Their offense, in particular, has when they're all on the court, turned into something pretty special.
I hope if they win, they do a night for a bobblehead. It's just the cup. And
that would be
bobbles.
great.
That would be wonderful.
The bobble cup.
Yep.
Paul Noonan, thank you so very much for joining us. We will talk to you in a couple weeks. Take care of yourself. When we come back, Ohio woman causes scene at Chipotle. She effed around. Now she gonna find out. You're listening to As Goes Wisconsin on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Let's just win, baby. All I do is win, no matter what. Got money on my mind, I can never get enough. And every time I step up in the building, everybody hands go up. And they stay there, and they say yeah, and they stay there. Cause all I do is win. And if you going in, put your hands in the air, make them stay there. And they stay there, and they say yeah, and they stay there. Cause all I do is win. And if you going in, put your hands in the air, make them stay there.
Listening to the Shaw, WAUK.
Snow brings thoughts of ways to stay busy in Wisconsin during the winter. And if you anticipate hitting the slopes, are you surprised to learn there are more than 36 ski resorts across the state? It ranges from Wilmot Mountain, which opened in 1938 in Kenosha County, to Mount LaCrosse Ski Area with one of the longest runs in Wisconsin. Granite Peak offers 58 runs outside Wausau, and Wild Mountain Ski Area and its 7 lifts near Hayward. Now, do you know which of those resorts sits on the highest slope? The answer coming up. Recreational skiing started in the Midwest. The Lost Ski Areas Project reports the first documentation of actual downhill skiers happened in Beloit in 1841. So which resort sits on the highest slope today? It's Granite Peak near Wausau and boasts 400 acres at a 700-foot vertical drop. The fun and history of skiing is a true slice of Wisconsin. I'm Terry Barr for the Civic Media Radio Network.
The Shaw, WAUK.
Tumble out of bed and I stumble to the kitchen for myself.
Good morning. Welcome to As Goes Wisconsin. Thank you so much for joining us. Jane Matnair in for Kristen Bride, Carol Kane, Greg Bach with me in studio. Calvin is on the board, and you can always join us at 844-967-2789 or leave a comment on the live stream if you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, and or Twitter.
I just saw that movie. It
Nine-
was
oh,
just
9 to
on-
5?
Yeah. You
For the
forget-
first time?
No.
Oh.
No. I mean, I've seen it many, many times, but you forget
How good it is?
Great those 3 women are.
And Dabney Coleman was priceless.
Oh my gosh.
Oh.
Because I'm a lying, egotistical, lying, egotistical, hypocritical bigot. Bingo.
Oh, that's great.
I never forget that movie because I watch it like twice a year.
Well, I tried to interview him backstage of the Emmys.
Dabney Coleman?
Yeah. Didn't work out so well.
Not nice?
No.
He seems like an old Hollywood guy who's like, get out of my way, kid,
That's
you bother
exactly
me.
the way it was. That's
Really?
exactly what it was.
You're a nobody.
Yeah.
Yep. Anyhow, never mind. That's my aside.
The other thing I want to say about that song from 9 to 5, which Dolly Parton wrote, the typing,
yeah,
she got that idea from her nails, from her fake nails.
Oh,
I think those are actually, I think she's playing her fingernails at the beginning of that
She's
song.
amazing. She
That's
is.
hilarious.
There's nothing the woman can't do.
I know. Well, maybe reach the top shelf. She's tiny.
She is tiny.
She's tiny.
Yeah, she's a little thing. All right, moving on. I saw this morning and it just kind of jumped out at me a little bit.
you told me a little bit about this. And once again, it goes back to the beginning of the show.
Yes.
What's happening to us?
Bad behavior.
Yes.
Adults behaving badly. 30
I'm getting out of the way of
the finger pointing.
The grandmas over here, like the kids don't understand how to behave nowadays. They don't know how to give change, and they're mean.
I'm not a grandma.
I'm just, you know what I'm saying.
Let me know what you think after I explain this situation. 39-year-old.
Oh.
39-year-old.
So an adult.
Rosemary Hain of Ohio was in a Chipotle last month.
I'm hungry.
And she's ordered one of these burrito bowls.
Got it.
She didn't like the way the server did the first one. So the server remade
the burrito bowl.
A culinary masterpiece.
Okay.
I'm sure.
Okay. Well,
Chipotle's amazing. Sponsor us. Give me free food.
She doesn't like the second burrito bowl. Goes out to her car.
Oh, no.
Comes back. Picks up the burrito bowl. And she's screaming at this 17-year-old.
Yeah.
I mean, she is screaming at her. And she picks up the burrito bowl and she throws it in the kid's face.
So she goes to her car and decides, you know what? No,
I'm not
justice must
done.
be served.
Yeah, I'm not done here. I need to go really take my stand.
now that's great behavior.
She's 39 years old.
I know. Come on.
And the server is 17.
I call those people, I've said it before, they're schadenfreuders. They are not happy unless they're making somebody else's life completely miserable. And it's like, it's Chipotle.
I know.
It's a fast food restaurant. It's not like you're paying $50 for a Mexican meal.
Oh, I want.
You know, come on.
So in the judge, she apologized. She was charged with a misdemeanor and she did apologize.
Oh, I'm sure it was so sincere.
Yeah, so sincere. So Judge Timothy Gilligan gave her a choice. 90 days in jail, or a combination of 30 days in jail and 2 months of working at a fast food restaurant.
That's the one
I would
she
have made
should
her
get.
work at that Chipotle.
That's the one she should take.
I would have made her work at that Chipotle under that 17-year-old kid.
Ooh.
Yeah. That's your new manager. That's Trevor. He's your new manager.
People are unbelievable and unreasonable. And the minute, to tell you the truth, the minute that walks out, you've given up your right for anything, as far as I'm concerned. You've accepted it. You've walked it out. You're in your car. Sit down, shut up, and eat the damn food.
Again, as Carol said, and I'm not slamming Chipotle in any way, shape, or form.
No.
But
Chipotle is a wonderful restaurant
Yes.
making quality Mexican food.
It's
Please
fast-
sponsor us and give me free food.
It's fast food.
it is ultimately it is fast food, and I don't know how many different ways you can make a burrito bowl.
Well, ask that lady. She had two ways in mind, but
The judge told her this is not the Real Housewives. This behavior is not acceptable. She again expressed her regret, but criticized the quality of the food, describing it as disgusting.
then walk
And
away.
then go
and-
someplace
Then
else.
why did you go there?
yeah, I mean, or at very least, you can say in a calm tone, "May I speak to your manager, please? I have a problem with my food." There are 1,000 different ways you could have gone over it. But no, you had to do it in a way to fart around and find out, and you found yourself getting played at a Chipotle or whatever fast, which is going to screw up your taxes this year because you're going to file another W-2.
Assuming she's working.
You're just not learning. Oh, would you take the 90 days in jail?
Well,
Yeah,
she's not
you
going to
would.
get paid. She's not going to get paid.
But I don't know if I don't know.
I don't know if you can do that.
Yeah.
I don't know how that
As an
works.
order of the court?
That I'm not sure, and the story does not include that.
I will say one of the greatest things that ever happened to me in the world of customer services, and I learned this at a very young age with a great manager who said, "You are to provide great customer service, but you are also to be respected. The moment they stop respecting you, yelling at you, swearing at you, belittling you, you hang up that phone. And if they call again, you send me, and I will not hesitate to defend you." And he never backed down. Anytime someone got in our case, anytime someone got lippy with us, anytime they got overboard and did
Something like this.
That's a sign of a good manager.
hang up. How dare you hold for manager? And he'd be like, "Don't you ever speak to one of my employees that way again."
That's
We did-
wonderful.
and people will be like, "I spent thousands of dollars." You can take thousands of dollars somewhere else.
And additionally, I think can we all just have discussions with our loved ones on regarding how we behave and how we have progressively, seems to me, in the last 8 years, we have become more childlike and more fifth grader like and throw tantrums over the most ridiculous things. It's a burrito bowl, honey.
I'm the first one to tell you the truth that will try to give benefit of the doubt in the fact of, I don't know what's happened to you today. You had
a crappy day.
Yeah, you had a crappy day. I'm really sorry about that. You don't throw your food at the poor guy who's trying to make it for you.
You don't yell at them. You don't throw at them. You don't do anything other than trying to just get best service you can in the most polite way you can.
Let's be a little nicer, folks,
Yeah.
shall we? All right, stay close. The news is coming up next, followed by a very nice Todd Alba.
The Todd Father.
The Todd Father, the Todd Alba show from noon to 2 o'clock right here. Stick with us on the Civic Media Radio Network. Have a great day.